We are turning the Canadian Constitution into a suicide pact.
Channel Report.
Any of that. No. The reason we have failed is the cupidity and stupidity of certain governments. And this is where I put my constitutional lawyer hat on to talk about federalism. American lawyers have a great saying. They say that, quote, the Constitution is not a suicide pact. But I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen, that during a killer pandemic, our usual accepted federal-provincial relations can turn into a suicide pact. I believe that our most fundamental failing right now is that pandemic responses are handicapped by a mythological, schismatic view of federalism. Thus, when provinces withhold epidemiological data or do a poor job of testing, collectively we grumble, we shrug, and we mutter that, well, health is provincial. But this is wrong. And speaking as a constitutional lawyer, health is actually a shared federal-provincial jurisdiction. The Supreme Court is dead clear about that, and it says, quote, health is a jurisdiction shared by both the provinces and the federal government, close quote. That's our Supreme Court, and it's perfectly accurate. I think it is good for the federal government to let provinces run their show, and that's normally how it should work. But I'll suggest that a pandemic is not normal. There comes a point where the federal government must step in, the point where provincial actions are killing Canadians. If our country cannot show that once in a century flexibility, then yes, we are turning the Canadian Constitution into a suicide pact. I know that what I've just said will be outrageously controversial. I'm sorry. But as a person who loves this country, I cannot let obvious mistakes pass and kill my neighbors.
Well, this doctor is a straight shooter. This is what we need more of in Parliament, and needs to get out there. Our media is lacking, and even the right-leaning media that I watch is not reporting this enough. They're starting, though. I'll give them that. Watch
World
this.
Health Organization recommending against travel to Canada, making Canada one of only two countries, that and China, as the two countries that they have sanctioned back then. Sadly, I see this occurring again. Do you see that, Dr. Attaran? Do you see this occurring, and what the implications will be to be sanctioned once again?
Mr. Weber, you summarized that exactly right. I mean, back in SARS, there were two countries in the world that got slammed with the WHO travel advisory, and we were one. And China, not exactly having been honest, shall we say, was the other. Now, we weren't trying to deceive the way China was. We were just unable to be honest. We were unable to get the data from Ontario to Ottawa and then onward to Geneva, where WHO is. Nothing has changed. That is a risk that could repeat itself. Yesterday, I believe, was Dr. Kitchen who asked about the multilateral information sharing agreement, which is an accord between the provinces and the federal government to share data. It is so secretive and ineffectual. To this day, we don't know which provinces have signed that agreement and which have not. Can you believe it? The Public Health Agency, I've asked them that question directly. Which provinces have signed the information sharing agreement, which haven't? They won't answer the question. And parts of that agreement actually stand in the way of data analysis, the sort that Dr. Fisman does. Under that agreement, provinces have to give their permission before analyses using their data can be published, which means they have the ability to suppress analyses that can save lives. It's terrible.
It's unbelievable. It really is, Dr. Attaran. Thank you for sharing your testimony today. Dr. Fisman, again, thank you as well, and thank you and for your your work, your commitment, and your sacrifices too, along with all healthcare workers in Canada. Thank you all.
You are entering prophetic minds. It's a sad state of affairs when you got intelligence guys, like Mickey Mouse guys like us, having to put this stuff forward because the media is lacking. And that's basically why this all started. The media was not pushing this agenda forward of what the real realities are. And for the average blue-collar Canadian, what do? They talk about elitist crap. They don't talk about the factors that are leading. They don't talk about the heroin epidemic, or what is that fentanyl crap that's coming from around the world.
Because of the wild violence by the rioters.
I think what happened was we lost our local papers, and the local papers were the people that dealt with people. The locals were these large papers. Their whole plan was to be like this, like The View. It's a larger scape to get millions of people. So they weren't an individual based papers. Well, all the local are gone. They're gone. So we have lost basically the voice of the people that a lot of people read. And even like I look at my local rag, and it's majority filled with large scope paper. It's not even local news anymore. How about we have a look around at what's going on in Canada a little bit? Like, subscribe and comment, and please leave your comments below. And share, it really helps.